All right, so our battle is live. Let's go. Let me switch on over to that. All right, let's get in there. Hey, it's one of those new layouts. So basically in this layout, we replaced the back row with it being inaccessible to it being, let's say, quasi-accessible. So basically the back rows have been filled in with corruption. So have fun with that. So on the left-hand side, Elemento with a lovely new pixel avatar here. They are using Totem, Chemist, and the Warrior here. And on the right side, we have Alfin with the Ranger, Engineer, and Totem as well. So we might be seeing some trap shenanigans from Alfin's side. Maybe some shoving going on Elemento's side. Let's see what happens here. All right, Elemento thinking about who they want to start targeting first, what their strategy is going to be. They've been kind of knocking around the Engineer for a little bit with that stance, with the shock stance, rather, excuse me. And so that will do some additional damage until that Engineer can move out of the way. So they're looking at another, let's see, 2 damage per round. So they're looking at least another 4 damage there. So it looks like they're going to be trying to pick apart Alfin's strategy of that Ranger Engineer trap combo. And does not look like they are going to be able to do that. Excuse me, Elemento is not going to be able to stop Alfin from doing at least that first combo. So that will be particularly devastating to who I'm assuming is going to be Totem, unless they decide to sacrifice that Chemist. But they are going to do some preemptive healing here to try to mitigate that damage as much as possible. So we are up to Alfin's Engineer right now, so we'll see what happens. We're looking for a nice little arm hook. And that's what we're going to get. 6 damage there, plus 14 from the... Excuse me. Plus 14 from the trap. Some support damage there as well from the Ranger. So unless Elemento... Oh, actually, Elemento is going to take 5 damage at the start of their turn, and that's going to be it for their Totem. So... we have found a particularly devastating combo right here with basically forcing at least one character into that middle row, which leaves them wide open for a nice trap pull. Let's see if Elemento can try to take out that Engineer as soon as possible so that they can at least pick apart that particular combo. But as of right now, it does look like that Alfin does have the upper hand here. All right, it looks like we're going to see another trap here. Totem is up. See a couple of things here. We could... Okay, so we do see a pressure release, which is a good choice here. Really just trying to stack up some damage as soon as possible. Trying to mitigate a little bit of that Chemist's passive healing there. We're going to see that pull, and this combo is absolutely devastating right now. So we're seeing... we're seeing that combo be used very effectively. So the combination of... basically locking at least one character out of that front row with a Totem and pulling them back into that back row where the corruption is, the corrupted tile is, excuse me. It's really doing a number on Elemento's rather squishy kind of build here, aside from that Warrior who's in the front row and really is dealing with all this stuff without any issue. The Elemento kind of on the ropes right here. Some solid damage there, trying to take out Totem. Moving into that Sentinel stance. So it looks like the Chemist is going to survive this round. Let's see what they do here. They got a couple options to deal some stuff, but they are going to concede. Yeah, so it seems like we have an interesting new meta here. Be careful of that back row. So it looks like if your opponent does have a totem in their layout, you might want to try to stack characters in that front. So yeah, just be aware of two things. Number one, the battlefield layout, which this is all new stuff, so it's going to take a while for everybody to get used to it. Battlefield layout. Number two, think about what your opponent wants to do with that battlefield layout, because you can see which characters your opponent has chosen. So even if you might want to try to maybe balance out your roster a little bit, so you can so you can kind of adapt around what your opponent is doing. Maybe a strategy that involves putting someone in that front row. Or everybody in the front row. So they can't put a totem in that front row to lock out one of your characters and start picking apart your formation. But easier said than done. Yeah. All right. So, exciting first battle. Saw some stuff that was really interesting. Some new interesting strategies there. So basically what we did was we replaced the inaccessible back row of that formation with basically that entire back row with that corruption. So a lot of stuff going on in that battlefield. So a lot of corruption, a lot of poison going on, which ended up being particularly potent in this certain situation. Being able to do just enough damage to knock out a character. So that, which is absolutely important in a lot of these situations. Having just enough damage is good enough, because it doesn't matter how much overkill you got. Basically, you just want to confirm the kill, and that was just enough to knock out those squishier characters. All right, so our next little bit of combat here is going to be between Warwicks and Elemento. Let's just switch over to that real quick. I'm just gonna join up here. So we are already in the battle. A classic layout. Nothing new here in terms of battlefield layouts. But we'll see how this combat goes. Works on the left-hand side here with the warrior, Shio, our newest character, and the ranger Elemento on the right there, with the berserker, warrior, and chemist. So Warwick's going for a little bit of a beefy strategy here with two characters that can defend other characters, that being the warrior and Shio. And Elemento going for a kind of hybrid strategy here that's a little bit adaptable, with the warrior switching in between sentinel stance and defensive stance as necessary, but still having that offensive capability with the berserker. We're seeing some use of that Vigor Potion there, kind of beefing up the Berserker as much as possible. There's really only one juicy target over on Elemento's side, and that is the Chemist right now, because they are not being defended by that Warrior. Unfortunately for Warwicks, their melee characters have kind of been... their melee character is going to pay a price, because the Sentinel stance plus the Berserker's Intimidate stance right there are particularly devastating. So Warwicks is going to take out that Chemist as soon as possible, which brings Elemento down to two characters here. However, that being said, Warwicks is going to have a relatively rough time with this layout, just because their melee characters are not able to do as much as they can without paying much of a price. So, yeah, except for that ranger. So Elemento has to figure out who they want to target. They haven't done much damage so far, haven't really had an opportunity to do so because of the relative speed of their characters. But it looks like they're probably going to have to take out that ranger as soon as possible, because that's going to be have pose a little bit of an issue here. However, Elemento is going to focus up that berserker, and the berserker only has one focus ability, and it's damage. It's a lot of damage. So they're going to pay a little bit of a price there with that stance. But they're going to do 35 damage with a single attack and apply some fatigue to Shio. So not too shabby. So they're going to be looking at taking down Shio as fast as possible, it looks like. And basically only allowing the Ranger to do unmitigated damage here. So that Ranger does pose a little bit of a problem to Elemento, but depending on how much damage they can really dish out, Elemento is definitely still in this fight. Warwicks weighing their options. Looks like they're just going to do a couple of quick shots here, just for now at least. Just trying to whittle down that warrior. Shio is up. Has taken a little bit of damage so far, so let's see if Warwicks leaves that character on an offensive line, or if they are going to switch that character back into defensive mode to try to protect them as long as possible to keep that 3-character turn advantage, basically. As this is a strategy type game, a tactics type game, action economy is very important, so that 3-2 character advantage is pretty impactful at this point of the game here. So considering still that Shio does still have 30 seconds, or excuse me, I saw the countdown timer and I said seconds there, 30 health. They're going to focus up right here. And they're still going to stay in the line though, so unless they move behind that warrior, they are betting that they can survive the next couple of hits from Elemento. Let's see what they do. I mean, if they leave that character in the front row, they're still going to take advantage of the warrior sentinel stance. And that seems like that's what they're going to do. So they're just going to use catch breath there to get that fatigue stack off, getting in some combo damage here on Elemento's warrior. And right back to sentinel stance. So it is now time for Elemento to have that warrior going. So Elemento has a couple of choices here. They could do the same exact thing what they did last time, which is exactly what they're going to do. Warwicks only has the Ranger in between. Only has the Ranger's attack in between that the Berserkers right now. So it looks like Warwicks is not going to be able to move Shio out of the way before attacking. Before Elemento's Berserker can deal some serious damage. So a little bit unfortunate for Warwicks as they did focus up with that character. But we'll see what happens here. All right, here we go. Gonna take a little bit of damage on that Berserker, but we're going to see 22 damage. Not quite enough to completely take out that character. Unfortunately, this time around did not have that Vigor Potion up. If the Chemist was still up and kicking, we could have seen another huge amount of damage there. 22 damage, while still incredibly respectable. Not quite enough to take out that character. It is going to be a little while before Elemento's warrior can have another turn. Will eventually take out Shio, but it's not quite enough as of right now. Warwicks weighing their options right now. Just going to do another quick shot, getting that bonus damage from the Ranger's support stance. Doing a decent job at just picking away at that warrior. And they are going to support up yet again. Works as Shio has some options here, especially since they have that focus ability. They go for a team buff. They could try to do some damage. A lot of options here. and they are going to use that rousing speech, which gives everyone a couple of buffs. One of which being additional damage on their next attack, the other one being a basically one-time defensive bonus against an incoming attack. So since the warrior did not have that sentinel stance up, Warwicks' warrior was able to go in and do some preemptive damage there and just take out that warrior, bringing Elemento down to one character. So it's all up to the Berserker right now. Elemento going for the honorable thing to take out, at least take out Shio while they still could. A Berserker with last one standing bonus is actually particularly good, considering how much damage they can do. But with the bonus damage with the bonus damage there and just the natural damage from the support there, it's enough to take out that Berserker. All right. We're seeing some exciting battles so far. Let's see if we can get another one of those new battlefield layouts in this next battle. Yeah, 90 damage across two characters is a little bit much, but it's all right. Berserker did admirably. Maybe if that chemist didn't get knocked out that soon, we could have seen some real cool stuff from that combo, considering how I'm not going to say inflexible, but how much of Warwicks' strategy right there really relied on staying in that vertical, that column formation. All right, so it looks like we are going to have another battle, this time with Warwicks versus Alfin. Jason, why do you gotta drop all the drop what we're doing in the chat? Berserker indeed might be changing soon. That is one character that we're definitely looking at in terms of their toolkit and seeing what's interesting, what's not interesting. Yes, we are all friends here. You could have the glory of dropping the bomb that is the Berserker rework. Looks like that battle between Warwicks and Alfin is beginning, so we're gonna switch over to that real quick. Oop. Let's do this instead. Yeah, I pushed the right button, definitely. Oh man. Hopefully see a new battlefield layout. Preferably one with that half cover, but I'm still interested in the classic 3x3 formation here. Warwicks in that center row, their same strategy. Alfin trying to pick that strategy apart with Totem. So let's see what happens here. Alfin thinking long and hard about where they want to put that totem, placing it right in the front of Warwicks' warrior here. Deciding the important decision of what stance to choose here. Do they want to do damage? Do they want to slow characters down? They're going to do damage, opting for that shock module, which does a respectable amount of damage to Warwicks' warrior for the time being. Warwicks is going to have to think about whether they want to move that character once the warrior comes back around, or they're going to keep them there. If they keep the warrior there, that's definitely going to be a pricey choice. If they're going to move that character, that does mess up that sentinel stance for them. Yeah, it is impossible to get slow, but, you know, there's ways to move people around. There's ways to force people to move. So, smart choice this time. So it looks like Warwicks is going to start to change that formation here. Instead, opting to move that ranger behind Shio. Shio focusing up. And then Warwicks' warrior will go afterwards, but not before taking a little bit extra damage there. think most of us can see what we think Warwicks is going to do here. Not offensively, but definitely defensively. Warwicks really does need to move that warrior, or else they're going to take a lot of damage. Warwicks still definitely has to decide which character they want to attack here. Going to pay a little bit of a price there. But they do a really decent amount of damage against Alfin's Shio. So, it looks like Warwicks is probably going to move. But I could be wrong. Could be wrong. They are definitely going to move, but not in front. In the front row, they are definitely going to move to the side there of Shio. Doing that sentinel stance, but going for a more hybrid approach, very similar to Alfin's current strategy. Alfin is focusing up there with the warrior, probably looking to do some decent damage at some point. They will definitely have a chance to do so, considering that the warrior is at full health as of right now. Alfin deciding what they want to do with Shio. They have a couple of options. But it looks like they are going to do a little bit of encourage right there. Some interesting options right now with Totem. They can do a pressure release to try to pick away at a certain character. Or they can replace that Totem and make Warwicks think about what they want to do. They are going to do a pressure release there, applying a stack of fatigue to Shio. And we are stacking up on Alfin's side here. Warwicks thinking what they want to do with that ranger, who they want to target here. Doing a little bit of chip damage to Shio. Definitely looks like they want to knock that character out as soon as possible, especially considering the absolutely immense potential for that character to do some really good damage via their support abilities. Shio really shines when there's other characters up in that, still up on your team. So, that being said, I'm not sure how long Alfin's Shio is going to last here. All right, Warwicks has a Shio with focus. Alfin is all stacked up, so we might see an interesting amount of damage come from Warwick's Shio, or we could see the other focus ability, which buffs everyone, dealing a decent amount of damage, but over time, basically, essentially transferring that damage to the other characters. Let's see what Warwicks goes for here. Still thinking about what they want to do. They got a few seconds. They are going to encourage their, basically passing the buck, not wanting to use that focus ability quite yet. Keeping everybody topped off, though. So if they don't move right now, they are going to... Okay, so what's going to happen here is that while they did move out of the way, that ranger is going to take a decent amount of damage over the next few rounds. But considering that ranger is at relatively full health, that is not an issue. Warwicks being able to knock out Alfin's Shio is pretty important right now. Gives them a 2-3 advantage, or 3-2 rather. However, Alfin's warrior is all focused up, so definitely some opportunity to do some real damage here. A couple of decent targets right here. They could go after the ranger, or they could go after Shio. It looks like they're going to inspire so that Totem can use their ultimate ability at some point. Probably not a great idea to do it right now because all those characters are out of range. But for the time being, since both of these characters are at full health, they will probably survive another salvo of attacks from Warwicks. And by that time, we'll see if Warwicks changes their formation, or at that time, Alfin can move that totem into a more opportune area. Moving that ranger in front of the warrior right now. All right, we do see a moving of that totem. Only 2 more rounds until Totem is up yet again. Alfin going for a defensive strategy here. That stun module did hit that ranger, which moved them back in that turn order, which was definitely enough to have Totem go twice in a row, particularly devastating. Basically opening up Warwicks' formation here. Did enough damage to take out that ranger. Warwicks is surprisingly now, it looks like we're pretty much evenly set up here. Back down to a 2v2 situation. The health totals are looking really good on both sides. Warwicks does have a focused up Shio, so we will see what happens here. A decent opportunity to deal some damage with that focus ability. And it looks like that's what they're going to do. They're going to do a nice little armor break there, dealing 11 damage to both characters, and also applying that negative effect to the defensive capabilities of both of those characters. Warwicks coming in just for a solid slash there, getting that bonus attack from their Sentinel stance, which was not triggered around in the past few rounds. Seeing that totem being placed yet again, might be seeing an interesting theme here from Alfin. Let's see what they do with the warrior. I'm thinking we're going to focus up, and yes, we are going to see an inspire from that warrior to pump out yet another AoE attack from Totem. And a surprising twist of fate here, dealing 12 damage to both of Warwicks' characters, also pushing them back in the turn order. However, they were pushed back so far in the turn order that it didn't make much of a difference in this situation. But still, 24 damage is pretty good in this situation. So it looks like we are tied up in the health totals here. Alfin, despite being in that defensive stance, it still leaves them wide open for Warwicks' piercing wit from Shio. It looks like Warwicks is definitely, since Warwicks definitely has 2 melee characters, they are forced to try to knock out Alfin's warrior as of right now. It's looking a little bit tight here for Alfin. They do have a few rounds ahead of them. It's looking like they're going to go for another system overload here. But is it going to be enough to knock out both of Warwicks' characters here? It's going to be really close. I'll say that much. All right, we're switching back over to that Sentinel stance. A wise choice there, considering both of Warwicks' characters are melee. Seeing another system overload. But again, those characters are so pushed back in the turn order that it's not going to make much of a difference here. So if Warwicks goes in for a melee attack, they are going to pay a price for that with that Sentinel stance. But both parties really, really on the edge of both victory and defeat at the same time here. So this is going to be very, very close. The Warwicks has to do something in these next 2 turns before they get hit yet again by another AoE attack. If you pay close attention to that turn order, Warwicks has both of their characters going in a row. And then Alfin has 2 turns with Totem and 1 with the Warrior. It looks like they are going to switch things up and have Shio go after the Warrior. Warrior taking some decent damage here, but able to do 17 damage to Alfin's Totem, and it looks like that is going to be enough to pick apart that strategy. Using that Encourage to heal back up yet again. Warrior in just an impossible situation right here because all of their attacks are melee. They don't have enough health to survive. They go in for a melee attack on the Warrior and get hit by Sentinel Stance. Very close. Really, absolutely excellent battle here. I had no idea what was going to happen. But just, that was absolutely incredible. That was really cool. Really cool stuff on both sides here. All right, it looks like we are going to have a battle between Elemento and Alfin. We're just going to wait up until that battle starts. Work. So the format is basically, no, it's not, it's kind of best of 3, but not really. It's still the point system, but you're doing 3 matches against both of your opponents. So everyone will play, I believe, 6 matches, right? But it's not like winner takes all in these matchups. You get points for the number of matches that you win. So it's a nice little hybrid in between the 2 kind of options that we had before. Yep. So everyone will play 6 matches. And hopefully we don't end up in a tie at the end. We'll see what happens. All right, it looks like the battle between Elemento and Alfin is beginning, so we're going to switch on over to that. All right. Quite a tough lineup today. All 3 of these players are really talented. Just really, really tight. So it's tough when there's only 3 people. But it looks like the parity is pretty high. And we see a new battlefield layout. Really a lot of half cover stuff going on here. Elemento side going for a column strategy with the Chemist, the Berserker, and the Warrior. Alfin really utilizing that cover as much as possible, putting in those squishier characters right there with the Ranger, Totem, and the Engineer. So this is definitely going to be an interesting fight. It looks like Alfin is really going to try to use that Ranger's evasion as much as possible, so that they don't have to take advantage of, so they can put that Ranger in the front row, but not have to use any of that half cover. It looks like Elemento doesn't really have much in the way of ranged damage, so Alfin's strategy might not be as effective as they wanted it to, both the Warrior and the Berserker being primarily melee focused. That Chemist really being the only source of range damage. Fortunately for Alfin, their Engineer does have levitation, and that's what they're using right now, so they will not be able to be targeted by melee attacks except for the Berserker's trade blows, which will be a little bit of an issue there. But that's basically the only way that they can really do any damage to that character. So it looks like Elemento is buffing up the Berserker. right now. Alfin is indeed going to focus up right now. The engineer's focus ability, very effective to Elemento's current layout here with the column. But we'll see. It's going to be a long while before that engineer is able to take another turn. So it's definitely Elemento has an opportunity to shake up that formation. However, due to basically that entire front row being taken up, they're only going to be able to put 2 characters in a row. So they're not going to be able to completely stack up in a way that will mitigate that damage. So that being said, a long time before that engineer is going to be able to go again. Elemento focusing up with that chemist via the Warrior's Inspire ability. Looks like we're going to definitely see, eventually, we are going to see a Flame Flask in the future. It's a little early for a heal, but considering how long it takes for Alfin's characters to go, specifically, or excuse me, one character in particular, that engineer, considering how long it takes for the engineer to take another turn, that Flame Flask will be particularly effective against them. That being said, the engineer does have a high elemental defense, but oh my gosh, did anybody see that? A huge trade blows there. Vigor coming into effect, absolutely massive. Attack bonus plus vigor, absolutely incredible here. So Alfin really getting punished here. They do have focus, so they can indeed actually start to heal up if they so choose. But that was a huge attack. Alfin, quite honestly, being pretty lucky that they're surviving at 2 HP. Able to do a little bit of AoE damage there with that explosive round. Getting lucky by, well, not... Basically, again, that trade blows is going to cause some problems for Alfin unless Alfin can take out that Berserker. So we are going to see an overload there, getting some good AoE damage, pushing some characters back in the turn order, basically leaving Alfin a wide open board for that Fire Lance, being able to hit all 3 characters here. And we do see that, bringing the Warrior down to dangerously low levels of health. The Berserker's down to half, and the Chemist is also down to half health. So while Elemento did some serious damage to that Ranger, Alfin definitely did their fair share of damage here with their combo. Alfin trying to pick off that Warrior before they can take another turn. Not quite enough damage here. But that being said, Elemento is going to have to think very hard about what they want to do here. I think Elemento's original strategy here was to lob a Flame Flask at one of these characters, but they might be forced to do some healing, and that's what they do with that Warrior. So the Warrior is going to take a turn very soon. Due to that, they will heal some additional amount pretty much immediately. So that gets them out of harm's way for most basic attacks, but another focus ability will deal some serious damage. So they're going to have to be careful about what they want to do here. Moving back a little bit here. Warrior is up. Let's see what the Warrior does here. It looks like Elemento might be making some room for that Warrior. Elemento getting lucky there, being able to do some damage with Slash. We do not see an evade. Being able to move right into that half cover with a defensive stance, bringing down the amount of damage that you can really do to that Warrior. But, however, that being said, Alfin is gonna, it looks like they're going to try to go for another AoE attack. It's going to be a little while before Totem can do that combo. It looks like there's going to be a Berserker attack, a Chemist attack, and a Warrior attack pretty soon. And the Totem is going to have to survive all of those rounds before they're going to be able to get off another one of those large AoE type attacks. So, can they do it? Not exactly sure. Berserker going in for just 9 damage there. So, doing their fair share of damage. They're kind of betting on that Berserker surviving for a while. Alfin's totem is now up, and it looks like they're probably going to go for a focus. They could go for, a nice pressure release to do some okay damage, but they are going to focus up, betting on being able to survive another few attacks. Engineer is up. Let's see if we see another focus from them. It was particularly effective last time, and we're going to see it here. Really interesting strategy here, just focusing on, excuse the pun, on AoE damage, just large AoE damage. It's interesting because even though both of these characters on Alfin's side do AoE damage for their ultimate ability, the characters themselves vary wildly in their speed. So on average, the engineer is going to not be able to get their combo out or their large focus ability out as often as Totem. However, it does deal a decent amount of damage, and also the engineer has some backup strategies, especially with that arm pull, or the arm hook rather. Pin is also a decent way of dealing with melee characters, but for now it looks like Alfin is just going to focus on those AoE attacks, and they are going to be coming pretty soon. Elemento looking pretty decent on health actually right now. Able to heal up that chemist pretty decently, but it doesn't look like they're quite going to be, they're not quite able to do as much damage as they're going to need to. But Alfin's health is starting to get a little bit lower, dealing some decent overload damage there. But is it going to be enough? That's the real question. Is that AoE damage going to be enough? Elemento switching to a more defensive type of strategy here. Trying to heal up their characters as much as possible with that chemist. But it looks like we are going to see another AoE here. Probably. Still a decent choice in this situation. Difficult, though. All right, doing 16 damage overall with that Fire Lance. Not as impressive as a three hit combo, but still pretty decent. Getting Elemento down to a really low amount of health. It looks like Alfin will have another couple of rounds, hopefully, with Totem that is going to be separated by a round from that warrior. But let's see what they can do here. Might see another totem place, and we do see that. It looks like they're not going to go for that shock damage. They're going to probably go for the stun module to move them in that turn order, and that's exactly what they do. Moving that warrior back in the turn order long enough for them to maybe focus up, maybe put down, and we are going to see a pressure release here, which is particularly devastating against that Berserker due to just how low the Berserker's elemental defense is. Yeah, Alfin in the chat here, speaking about their strategy while still in combat, saying that that entire kind of layout, Elemento's layout right now is really built around that chemist, and so maybe focusing on them first would have been a more opportune strategy, and it looks like that might have been the case given how much healing that chemist is pushing out right now. Alfin dealing some really good AoE damage, but with this kind of strategy on Elemento's side, it causes a little bit of a problem because it takes forever for an AoE based strategy to take out a single character, and when a character can heal, then it might mean one more giant AoE attack, and that can mean a huge amount of difference over the course of an entire battle. That one more Fire Lance or one more system overload can it takes a long time for these characters to get one of those focus abilities out. So that being said, the battle is not over yet, and Alfin is going up for yet another Fire Lance. Not being attacked too much due to that levitation. Berserker is up, being dealt some decent damage there by that pressure release, but also that recovery patch does a huge amount of healing, kind of mitigating that. Unrelenting, doing his job, dealing some bonus damage there by attacking the same target twice in a row with that attack. So taking out Totem, so we are no longer going to see system overloads. Alfin really has to do as much damage as they possibly can with those fire lances. But this is looking a little bit difficult from their side right now. Yeah, the half cover is really helping Alfin in this situation because the Fire Lance is indeed range damage. If this were a slightly different setup, if we were not looking at that half cover, the Engineer's Fire Lance would be very effective here. Unfortunately, half damage really adds up after a while. Doubling the amount of Fire Lance is really necessary to deal decent damage to Elemento's characters. So. If we were not looking at half cover here, we would probably be seeing a lot different health totals at this stage of the game. So if this were slightly different and that half cover allowed someone to, say, take half damage from melee attacks, this would be slightly different. But you know, who knows? We might see some kind of terrain that allows you to do that. Who knows? Elemento's Chemist is up here. So while Alfin was able to take out that Berserker, they are in a difficult situation due to that Flame Flask, only doing 5 damage, but they are going to take damage over time as well. So basically, Elemento is looking to get damage as they can here. It might take a little while for that, for that Engineer to take enough damage, but it's just a matter of time at this point. Levitate is an expensive stance in terms of health. Overheating is now dealing 7 damage. That plus the fire damage on that tile means they are going to have to move, and they cannot levitate anymore. If they levitate one more time, they will take. They're going to take critical damage here. So Alfin recognizes this. They stuck in there a long time, got their knockout, but it wasn't quite enough to turn the tides of battle. Very close in a couple of situations here, but that healing over time really affected that strategy. Yeah, an interesting point here from Alfin. You can put that totem behind half cover, basically knocking out that strategy. When totem does get knocked out in the battle, their totem stays no matter what. So if you think your totem is going to get knocked out, and they have like one more turn left, you might want to try to get that in there. If you get that in there, it can have lasting effects on the battle, even after that character has been knocked out. All right, it looks like we're Warwicks and Elemento are going to be up next, and I'll switch on over to that as soon as they are ready to go. Looks like that battle is beginning. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to leave the battle up, which, as everybody knows, the most exciting battles happen when I take a break. So, so let me know all the crazy stuff that happens during this match. I'm just going to boot up this battle right now and switch on over to spectate mode. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. All right. I'm back. Looks like it was another classic battlefield layout. Hopefully we'll see some more of the new ones. Not that the classic layout is unexciting, because it definitely is. Some cool stuff going on there, but, you know, always like to see the new stuff. All right. A new battle will start soon. It looks like our next battle is between Warwicks and Alfin. And we'll switch on over to that once it starts. All right. So it looks like, as of right now, Warwicks is undefeated, pulling ahead a little bit halfway through this tournament. Still, plenty of opportunities for others to catch on up to Warwicks, pick apart their strategy, and claim the win here. It looks like that fight between Warwicks and Alfin is starting, so we're going to switch on over. I hope. Yeah, there we go. Jumped the gun a little bit. That's okay. Just waiting for our contestants here to pick their layouts. The characters, their layouts, their formations, their stances, all that good stuff. And we have one of those new layouts before, as we saw before, with the half cover. So on Warwick's side, we have the Warrior, Shio, and Ranger, the classic combination. On Alfin's side, we do have Shio, but we see the Chemist and the Engineer here. So, let's see if Alfin can figure out Warwick's strategy here. We are realizing that the Ranger is pretty important here. And considering that most of the defensive capabilities on Warwick's side kind of look like anti-melee. However, they are pushing that Ranger behind the half cover, so they are also relatively well protected from range. It looks like Alfin is going to try to go after Warwick's Shio first and foremost here. So let's see what they do. Placing Shio behind the Chemist there, trying to recover from that fatigue a little bit. Trying to protect them as much as possible. Focusing up with the Engineer and levitating to get out of that melee range. Which basically forces Warwicks to only use that Ranger to try to take out the Engineer. Warwick's trying to figure out who they want to target here. There's a couple of opportune targets, especially for melee style stuff. Thinking about it for a little while. It could be Chemist, and it looks like it's going to be Chemist, taking 12 damage there, but only 6 damage from that support from the Ranger, so considerably less than normal, thanks to being behind half cover. A lot of the Ranger's damage output does come from that support ability, so putting characters behind half cover, even though only one of Warwick's characters is ranged, is relatively important here. Warwick's thinking about what they want to do with that stance. Odds are they're going to stay where they are. But it is never too late to shake things up. They are going to place that warrior in front of Shio, opting to go for that sentinel stance, which protects themselves for the most part right now. Shio coming in for a piercing wit to do a little bit of damage there. All right, and we're going to switch on over to the chemist, using that heal to heal up some people here. Both the chemist and Shio benefiting from that. Focusing up, really putting it on the line here, trying to make sure that they survive until their next round, which, looking at that turn order, is looking a little bit difficult here. That heal does count for a lot in this situation, but it looks like that chemist is going to have to survive 2 rounds from the ranger and 1 each from the warrior and Shio. A little bit of a tall order here, even with all that healing. So let's see what happens here. Not going to take that much damage from the ranger. Only 4 damage, easily healed off in a couple of rounds. Placing the ranger behind Shio right now. Going for a kind of full row strategy, not taking advantage from that range damage too much, considering Alfin does look like they are going to be using that fire lance very soon. So stacking up is definitely in Warwicks' favor as of right now. Alfin switching over to a wide guard there, or sweeping guard rather. Protecting both of their squishier characters. Kind of in a little bit of a pickle right now, due to the fact that Fire Lance is not going to do as much damage as they had hoped. So they have to figure out what they want to do. Are they going to bide their time? And it looks like that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. Taking some damage there from Sentinel stance to get a defense break on the warrior, reducing their defensive capabilities for a couple of rounds. Switching over to return fire, getting in range of the defensive capabilities of Shio still, due to the fact that that sweeping guard affects both characters on either side and behind of Shio. So definitely a way to take advantage of the defensive capabilities there. Placing them behind that character also gives them that naturally that +1 elemental and physical defense. Not quite as effective as the warrior in this situation, but the ability to protect 2 different characters at the same time is really good. The flexibility of sweeping guard is very important. It looks like warrior is going to focus up with Shio via Inspire. Shio, it will go right now. They have a couple of options. They could go for an offensive tact, or they could go for that Encourage ability, which basically gives everyone a nice little buff and a nice little offensive and defensive buff, rather. I'm going to go in for an armor break right now. Using that focus ability, dealing a decent amount of damage to Alfin's characters, really putting that engineer back down to 10 health, puts them definitely in range of a couple of ranger attacks here. However, Alfin's chemist is up next after that ranger. So there's a couple of opportunities for Alfin to get in some healing on the engineer, but it's going to be tight. It's going to be a difficult one. The chemist is super protected right now, being behind half cover and being protected by melee attacks. So they're good on melee and range for right now. That chemist is not going anywhere. All right, taking 16 damage there due to that fatigue. Not quite enough to put that down into the danger zone, so to speak, but definitely a decent amount of damage. All right, Alfin's chemist is up right now at a very I think this moment is really going to determine whether Alfin is going to hang in there for a while. They can go for an offensive ability, but they're going to go defensive with that recovery patch, switching over to Healing Vapor, really trying to heal up as many people as possible. But the only unfortunate thing is that their Shio is getting down to a couple of stacks of fatigue and at less than half health. That quick shot with the bonus damage there from support was able to do a decent amount of damage to that ranger. However, they are going to start recovering pretty soon. So they'll be able to probably take one more attack maybe, but not much after that. Especially if that warrior sentinel stance does not get triggered. But if they stay behind Shio, which they do not do right now, or they're still on the side, so they will still be able to get that defensive bonus there. Shio, excuse me, looks like they did heal there, getting them up to a decent amount of health, so they'll survive for a couple more rounds. Dealing some decent damage with Fire Lance there, even though despite that warrior being behind half cover, it's still dealing 11 damage, so 29 damage out of a focus ability. Pretty cool. So, it looks like Alfin was able to recover for the most part, but that Chemist is back down to 10 health with Shio being up next. Let's see if Shio can do enough damage here. 11 damage now due to that... due to the Healing Vapors, is going to put them down to 2, but it's going to be enough to have that Chemist survive at least one more round. The Ranger does go after the Chemist, odds are will be able to take out that character. However, this last little bit of damage, or this last buff, whatever this Chemist does, can make a little bit of a difference here. They are going to use the Vigor Potion to buff up the next attack for Shio. Odds are they're going to try to do another defensive stance to heal up people. So that Healing Vapor is back up. They heal 1, which I do believe that is not quite enough there. 5 damage comes from the Ranger, which is able to knock out Alfin's Chemist for sure. We're looking at a 2v3 situation right here. We do see a couple of buffs over on Alfin's side. 14 more health is going to come to that Engineer over the next couple of turns. Alfin's and an additional 10 health there from Encourage from Shio. So Alfin's definitely looking to preserve that Engineer for as long as possible. And they get into another defensive stance as well. We're seeing another focus here. Really looking to use that Fire Lance at some point. However, Warwicks does have 3 rounds in a row, though. So, Warwicks is in a little bit of a pickle here. One slight downside from Warwicks stacking up would be that Shio could use their focus ability to deal a ton of damage, but Shio is done. Tons of attack bonuses coming there from untriggered stances, both support stance from the Ranger and the Sentinel stance from the Warrior get bonus damage if those effects are not triggered in between rounds. So that's definitely enough to knock out Shio in this case. Using that Encourage there from Shio to keep the Warrior's health up. Switching on over to the Ranger, doing a little bit of chip damage there with that quick shot. And they go right behind Shio, putting Alfin in a tough situation while at full health, focused up, and with that last one standing bonus. Theoretically, they could do some decent damage. Is it going to be enough to knock out the Warrior? Probably not, but they don't have too many choices here, so they got to figure out what they want to do with the strategy. They can probably survive a couple more rounds, but they do have to figure out something to do against that Ranger. So they do take a bunch of damage there from that Sentinel stance, but they're probably going to go back into that Levitation Now, levitation is going to get a little bit pricey for them due to the fact that every time you use levitation, you take 1 more damage at the start of your turn. So it's been quite a few rounds now that the engineer has used this stance. So it's really going to start to add up at this point in the game. Warwicks is focusing up there due to the fact that Shio cannot attack anyone who is like from a range perspective. What they can do is rousing speech there to get the to get the ranger some extra damage. And it looks like that's going to be enough to knock out that engineer before they are able to take another turn. Warwicks defeated so far. Their strategy is seemingly unbeatable. Definitely some interesting uses of the recovery features of Shio and also those buffs. Definitely making a big difference in these fights. Next up is going... Who's up next? Next up is between Elemento and Alfin. This will be the 3rd battle from them, and they are neck and neck here. Tied in their record. So, we'll see what happens. Nice thing that I've noticed in a lot of these battles is that people have had a lot more reason to move around in their strategies, so their formations have been constantly shifting pretty much due to the fact that there's definitely a lot of situational abilities throughout a lot of these characters that have to do with positioning. Combining that with the buffs and debuffs that you see on the battlefield, really it's seemingly forcing people to really think about where they want to be at any particular point in time. So I'm really hoping with the new terrain that will eventually be releasing, we'll see more and more of this. But definitely let us know how you feel about this terrain stuff. There's always room for improvement, so balancing the effects of terrain, introducing new terrain, basically balancing the way that we place terrain on the battlefield and which pieces of terrain we put together on the battlefield can make a huge difference. So definitely looking for you guys' feedback. Looks like the battle between Elemento and Alfin has begun, so we're going to switch on over. All right. All right, so we have, I think this is the first time we've seen this, is this the first time we've seen this formation? Or, excuse me, this layout in this tournament? I think it is. But anyway, we have, excuse me, we have 1 piece of corrosion and 1 situation of half cover on the battlefield here. A little bit more sparse than some of the other layouts, but definitely still something to be aware of here. So we have on Elemento's side the Chemist, the Berserker, and the Warrior. On Alfin's side, we are seeing Totem, Engineer, and Ranger. Both of these teams going for a hybrid approach to their initial layouts here. It looks like Elemento is definitely going to try to beef up that Berserker as much as they possibly can. Using that Vigor Potion, definitely expecting to see some kind of Inspire coming from the Warrior. But it looks like Elemento is up to their tricks here, and it looks like we are going to see a nice little arm hook. Not into the poison, but that is going to move that character out from behind half cover, which will allow that support damage to be a full amount here. Dealing a very respectable 10 damage there, a great combo from these 2 characters. Elemento's warrior is up right now. Let's see what they do. It looks like Alfin's ranger and their engineer have not moved out of the way. So it looks like that ranger is going to be wide open for the berserker's focus attack, which does a considerable amount of damage, especially to the low health total that is the ranger. Gonna switch on over to a sentinel stance there onto the warrior. But Alfin does have that totem. Their turn is up next. So let's see what they do. They can do some chip damage to the warrior. They can start trying to... they can put down a pressure release onto that chemist, which will deal some decent damage. Is it going to be enough? I'm not sure, but it looks like that's what they're going to do. So 5 damage immediately and some more damage on the start of that next turn. Elemento is going to have to do some real damage against one of Alfin's characters now in order for them to be able to catch up here. But a vigored up berserker with focus, that can definitely do the job. All right, 46 damage. That seems like it worked. So that definitely did the job. It looks like we're going to possibly be seeing a 2v2 situation now. So definitely putting the entire team behind one attack on that berserker, but Alfin definitely doing something very similar with that combo. So definitely a very quick 2v2 situation here. A lot of damage coming out. 46 damage. That is a absolutely massive amount of damage coming out of the berserker. But very situational type of attack there. Basically, Alfin needed, Elemento needed Alfin not to move out of the way, and Alfin was definitely okay with not moving in the situation. So that berserker is definitely a force to be reckoned with if it has focus and you have a character in the line of fire. 46 damage is absolutely crazy. So I'm not sure if that's the highest amount of damage we've ever seen, but if it's not, it's pretty close. Taking 17 damage there from the warrior with that slash right there. Just a reminder that staying behind that half cover does not protect you from melee attacks. Both of Elemento's characters right now are melee based. So that half cover not doing as much probably as one would hope. It is now Elemento's turn again after taking decent damage from that system overload. System overload technically being a ranged attack did not do as much damage to the berserker as probably Alfin would had initially hoped. However, Berserker did come in to do a little bit of bash damage there, dealing some decent damage to Totem. Cry of dismay comes from Alfin in the chat. Yeah, it is range damage, so it is going to do half damage to that berserker, unfortunately. Yeah, so that totem is technically from behind them, so even though it is behind them, it is still a ranged type of damage, so it does do half damage. We'll look into that, but as printed, that's how it works. Still doing plenty of damage to that Fire Lance, though, even though it is ranged as well, so Elemento dangerously low on that warrior. And that's going to be enough with that stance there with the shock module. So they are down to just the berserker here. Taking advantage of that half cover though. but taking a lot of damage from Steam. So it looks like they are probably going to have to move out of there before they take a lot of damage from the second round of that pressure release. Elemento moving out of the way, still taking a lot of damage from that shock module though. A couple more rounds of that, and that's over for Elemento. Just using a little bit of a defense break there. Going to take a lot of damage from that counter, but it is definitely going to be enough due to that stance being active right now. There we go. The Berserker, having very low elemental defense, takes a ton of damage from that stance in particular. Very dramatic. A lot of back and forth there. Some cool stuff. An unfortunate realization there that even though that stance, the shock module, was coming from a different direction, it is definitely a range style attack. So just how it's printed. Maybe we can work on how that stuff looks, but that's just how it is right now. But mission accomplished indeed. Plenty of damage coming out. So all right. Who do we have next? We have Warwicks and Elemento coming up in their next battle here. Yeah, we'll look into some situations with splash damage and AoE type stuff that comes from technically behind. Yeah, we'll just have to think about what we want to do there. If it's if we want to have that mechanic built in where it actually doesn't do half damage because it's coming from behind, that could technically be something that we could do. There also becomes a situation where there's splash damage that's from not necessarily, you know, there could be a melee attack that does splash damage, but that's technically still melee, but since it's splash, kind of looks like ranged. Who knows? But there's a lot of things that we can look into in terms of making the effects of terrain really clear. So looks like he did all right there. Still got the still squeaked out the win. But you know, we'd like to not have that type of surprises in this game. Yeah, the only thing about being a game with characters that all have very individual types of attacks, all very unique attacks, is that there are a lot of edge cases that pop up because every single attack is different. So we have to make sure that we have everything is consistent. So we'll definitely look into this one. All right. All right. That battle has begun between Warwicks and Elemento, so we'll switch on over. Let's go. All right. Warwicks not giving up the undefeated character composition here. Elemento putting one of their more tanky characters behind cover. An interesting strategy here. This is going to be very interesting. Focusing up immediately with that ranger. Putting Shio behind the half cover, allowing them to, when they're naturally tanky against a whole bunch of stuff, they'll protect them from some melee stuff from the allies, but also taking half damage from that range. So Warwicks might think twice about targeting Elemento's Shio for now, but we'll see what happens here. Not a lot of juicy targets other than Totem right now, and that's who they're going to attack, dealing 10 damage right off the bat here from Quick Shot. Moving back behind Shio, being protected from melee attacks here. Elemento thinking about what they want to do with Shio here. They could do some piercing wit to deal some damage to their characters, and that's what they're going to do here. Taking a little bit of damage here from that sentinel stance, but dealing 10 damage there. Really important in the short run because that ranger is pretty important to Warwicks' strategy. So if they're able to take out that ranger with range attacks sooner rather than later, that's going to help immensely. Warwicks focusing up here. Warwicks has definitely been using a lot of Shio's focus abilities and is able to get those attacks out more often due to the Warrior's Inspire. Coming in to attack Shio, definitely dealing some decent damage there, starting to apply some fatigue to that character. Although not taking as much damage from the Ranger, which is very important. Elementor has a couple of turns with their characters coming up pretty soon. Replacing that totem there. Perhaps slowing down some characters. We'll see here. Yep, placing down that stun module there. Forcing some characters to move down that turn order. Dealing some decent damage from explosive round as well. So again, doing a more AoE focused strategy here. Warwicks' Ranger is up though, and they kind of had their pick of who they want to target at this point. All valid targets as of right now. Probably Shio and Totem are the better ones at this point. But we'll see what happens. Warwicks might have other plans. Warwicks taking their time, trying to figure out what they want to do here. Getting a quick shot in on Totem right here. So it is going to be a long time before Shio has their next turn, unfortunately, for Warwicks, but I don't think that will be much of a problem. That character still has a decent amount of health here. Totem up. Going to use a nice little pressure release, getting some combo damage out there from that support ability. Getting that Ranger down to a decent amount of health. So we could see a situation here in which Elemento might be able to take out Warwicks' Ranger. Definitely taking some damage there, but definitely worth it from Elemento's perspective. If they can take out Warwicks' Ranger right here, that'll be absolutely pivotal to the course of this battle. All right, dealing 6 damage there with a quick shot. We're going to see some decent damage here from the second half of pressure release. So that Ranger should be gone from Warwicks' layout here. Ranger does take more than enough damage there, and we're back to Warwicks' Shio, who has been focused up. 2 of Elemento's characters are in a row dealing some really huge damage there from that armor break. 13 damage to Elemento's Shio and 20 damage to their totem. The warrior is up next, so it looks like that warrior will probably be able to take out one of those characters, but we'll see what happens. If Warwicks is not able to take out one of Elemento's characters right here, dealing 12 damage to Shio, that's not going to be enough. So Elemento has 4 turns in a row to figure out what they want to do here, which character they want to focus down, who they want to, basically, who they want to have last one standing bonus, because both of these characters, that can be pretty dangerous. Now, I will say that Warwicks' Shio does have 4 stacks of fatigue, so despite it looking like they have a lot of health, it's actually not as much as one would hope. Warwicks thinking about where they want to move that warrior. Unfortunately, Elemento does, unfortunately for Warwicks, Elemento does have that stance up that will slow down the warrior a little bit. So they're going to move pretty far down that turn order pretty soon. All right, so here starts the 4 turns from Elemento. Let's see how they take advantage of that here. So they're really looking to try to do as much damage as possible because both Shio and the Ranger are in a very difficult situation. He's doing some nice quick shot damage here. Switching over in favor of support. Probably looking to support these characters to get a little bit more damage. Definitely doing that pressure release support combo here. Shio is down to 20 health. All right. We are up to Elemento Shio, down to 5 health there, kind of on the ropes for the most part. But they do have a couple of tricks up their sleeve. They're going to use Encourage to get Totem out of a very dangerous health situation there. Warwicks does have 2 rounds in a row, so we'll see what they do here. Alder, they're going to try to take out Shio, considering that Shio is defending both of the other of Elemento's characters. All right, so they are going to come in and take out Shio. So we are now in a 2v2 situation. Now Warwicks have to figure out what they want to do with that warrior. But before that, they have to figure out what they want to do with the stance. So they can try to remove that fatigue. And that's what they're going to do. Removing a little bit of fatigue, making it a little bit more difficult for Elemento to do that final amount of damage. So now we have the warrior up, who alone is not going to be able to do 18 damage, but they're able to do 17 damage there. So maybe they could have done 18 damage. Who knows? No, they were going to do 17 damage there, putting down Elemento's totem down to 1 health. Now, Elemento does have 4 turns in a row because those 2 characters, the Ranger and Totem, are very fast, especially in comparison to Warwicks' characters. So Elemento, this is probably going to be Elemento's last chance to deal some decent damage to these characters. Because odds are they are going to be down to just the Ranger very soon. We might see a very classic situation of Ranger versus Warrior in this upcoming series of rounds. Elemento still has 3 rounds left here. Just doing a nice little quick shot. Trying to deal enough damage to that Warrior. Dealing another pressure release there. That is enough to knock out Shio. So Warwicks is back down to just the Warrior. Taking some impressive chip damage from that shock module, which is only going to be up. Is only going to be active when Totem is active. So the Warrior, odds are, is going to try to take out Totem here, and does. Now both of these characters have last one standing bonus, so it's going to come down to who can deal the most damage here. Elemento has 1 turn with that Ranger, dealing 12 damage with quick shot, which is definitely a bunch to that Warrior. Warrior dealing 20 damage to Elemento. With that bonus attack plus that last one standing bonus, but it looks like Elemento has 2 turns in a row here, which is just enough to knock out that Warrior. And that's it. And that's the game. Very close, very tight. Elemento eking out a win here. Warwicks not going undefeated. Extremely well played on both sides. All right. It looks like the next battle will be between Warwicks and Alfin, and that is beginning pretty soon. We're just going to give them a couple of seconds to pick out their characters and do their formations and stuff. And I believe this is going to be the last battle, correct? Alfin is looking to, or excuse me, why am I saying? Sorry, my Windows got all messed up right now. Alfin is looking to secure second place here, but if they cannot beat Warwicks in this situation, they will be facing off against Elemento there for second. Warwicks already knows they're in first place. They have the they have the capability to decide who gets second and third, maybe. So well, let's see what happens. Suggestion from Discord: layout with corrosion in the half cover tile. Yeah, yeah, definitely. That could be really cool, especially if it goes in kind of like a more central location. That makes it a little bit more disruptive. So yeah, we could definitely look into that. All right, Warwicks' side. We see the Warrior, Shio, and Ranger. Alfin's side has Totem, Engineer, and Ranger as well. Half cover being in a very disruptive spot right now. Being in the center of the map and making it inaccessible. Warwicks is really going to have to keep those characters up in the front there, unless they want to basically get in range maybe of that totem, but we'll see what happens. Alfin does have that engineer, which is going to be their strong point against Warwicks in this layout, in this matchup rather. However, Warwicks' strategy, very solid all around. So we'll see how Alfin is going to be able to pick that apart in this situation. Yeah, we see a Jason piping into the chat there. Allie learning their lesson and putting the totem in the cover tile this time. Yep, definitely placing that totem back there. Unfortunately, that basically what happens here is they can't really use their totem for offensive capabilities as of right now, so they're going to have to be using seemingly some other offensive capabilities from Totem right now. However, Warwicks is moving that Ranger back, so it does put them in the line of fire of pressure release. Something that some of you might have noticed right now, Shio is taking a decent amount of damage right now, and that is because of the current stance that, that Totem has up. However, they did move Shio out of there, slightly disrupting that layout. So we do have the engineer right up right now. We're going to delay that turn. It looks like we're going to get a nice little trap combo here. Seeing a pressure release as well. So that Ranger is going to get into trouble pretty soon. Alfin's Ranger is up. We're probably going to see a trap here. Odds are. And we do see that trap. And supporting back up. We're looking to do a lot of damage here. Alfin knows that that ranger is in trouble. But they're going to go all out and try to get in as much damage on Shio as possible as early as they possibly can. Shio taking some decent damage as well from that totem. They have a couple more rounds before they can move as well, so they're going to take at least 6 more damage. So that'll put them down in health. But it does look like Alfin's Ranger is in trouble right here. Being dealt 11 damage by Warwicks' Ranger. Warwicks is really going to have to move that Ranger out of the way, but I don't think they're going to have a problem with that, considering that they will get back into the defensive capabilities of the Warrior Sentinel stance, and they do that. All right, and we are back we are back to Totem right now. It was a little bit of a pickle. They can't really use much offensive capabilities except for their Disruptor Blade, which they will get attacked by the Warrior's Sentinel stance, unfortunately, and that's going to be a very pricey move by them. So they're going to take a lot of damage from that, but we'll see what they do here. They do focus up, kind of biding their time until they can do something about it. But it does look like Warwicks has 3 turns in a row, which, considering how their Ranger is performing right now, that's going to give them a lot of offensive capabilities right now. Alfin probably wishes they had focus up, but Warwicks, they're kind of in a decent spot right now, considering that really Shio is in danger, but not necessarily as in much danger as they would hope. Warrior coming in for some damage there, decent damage from melee, but not as much from that support ability. Ranger up next. Despite Totem being behind half cover, Warwicks does still go for that quick shot. Warwicks understands that that system overload is particularly damaging, but it is not quite enough to take out that character. The odds are we're going to probably see a system overload here. It's going to deal some decent damage to Shio. Well, let's see how much damage it actually does. And we do not see that system overload. We actually see a pressure release, which is very interesting. It looks like we're going to see another arm hook here from that engineer. Pull them back into that poison and into that steam, dealing some decent damage here. 3 damage and poisoned and the pressure release. That's a lot. So Alfin able to keep some of that focus for now. Let's see if that character can survive. All right, dealing 14 damage with a quick shot against the engineer. A surprise twist. All right, getting some system overload there. Basically securing the knockout against Shio. Warrior is up next. They do have that bonus from their Sentinel Stance, which was not triggered, so they're going to do some decent damage here, dealing 17 damage to Totem, leaving Alfin with just an engineer here. That is going to be enough to take out Shio. And Alfin is going to focus up. All right, levitate it is, and we're going to see if Alfin can survive here. Ranger doing 19 damage there from attack bonus, from the attack bonus, so an incredible amount of damage. All right, Warrior is up next. Not really able to do much here, but that Ranger is up next and definitely able to do 3 damage to Alfin's Engineer. And that's going to do it. So pretty soon we should see this bracket updated. Warwicks taking the #1 slot in this tournament here. But it looks like Alfin and Elemento are going to be able to duke it out for second and third place. If they so choose. All right. So that was the last official tournament battle. However, there is the unanswered question of Elemento versus Alfin for second and third place. So let's see if these two players want to figure that out. It looks like we're probably not going to have another battle here. Oh, Elemento is 2-1 over, or excuse me, Alfin is 2-1 over Elemento. So, that's good enough for me. No pressure to do another fight or anything like that. If people don't want to do another one, that's cool. All right, pretty exciting tournament though. Relatively short one, probably due to there only being 3 people here, but still plenty exciting. Got to see some cool new strategies. Seeing people react to the terrain was really cool. All right, it looks like we are going to see one more battle here. Yeah, Jason, do you want to generate another fight, or whoever generates the fight, just let me know what the join link is so I can get in there. All right, we have another fight generated here. Yeah, let me know when both of you are in the battle so we can join up and spectate. Oof. We actually got a quit here, so we'll get back in there. There we go. Right. It looks like that battle is beginning between Alfin and Elemento. Let's switch on over to that. Why not? All right, cool. Just joining up, and we're in. All right. Let's see what kind of layout we get here. I am up for anything. I love seeing the new layouts, but there's something very nostalgic over the traditional 3x3. Whoop. Thinking pretty hard about these layouts. We might have some technical difficulties behind the scenes, who knows? We'll get there, I promise. Yeah, row of death. That would be really funny. Oh my gosh. Let's switch over back to the chat for the time being until the battle starts. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if it's like more or less punishing than a hard 2x3. There's definitely some additional opportunities for damage there, especially with like arm hooks and shoves and stuff like that. But 3x3 corrosion layout? Oh god. Everybody's poisoned all the time. It doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, that would be ridiculous. That would be really silly. It could be a good sudden death format. It does favor some strategies over others, though. I'll say that much. It definitely does. Long-term strategies, not as effective, surprisingly enough. Also, quicker characters get poisoned faster, so that's also a thing. Hey, maybe this is a valid tournament layout. Valid tournament layout, 3x3 corrosion. Yeah, the tiebreakers, it's corrosion. The battle's very quick. Yeah, except one tile in the middle. I don't even know which character you would really put there. I'm trying to think of who would really want to be in an uncorrupted tile. I mean, every character would want to be in an uncorrupted tile, but it's like one character does not want to be poisoned, so I guess maybe like a low health character that's fast. So your chemist, your ranger, your engineer-ish. Well, no, engineer's very slow. So I guess like your ranger and your totem probably, right? Probably. Yeah, I would be totally into a crazy tournament. Once we get a couple more like terrain features in there, that would be really cool. Because I could see there definitely being some very disruptive types of terrain. That would be pretty cool. So like all like no defensive types of stuff. Just like stuff that makes the battles go really fast. Those sweet weather effects that we were talking about a little while ago. All right, and we're in. Let's switch on over. All right, corrosion top row. Slightly different from corrosion back row. Or top row, back column. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. On Alfin's side, we see the Berserker, the Ranger, and the Engineer. On Elemento's side, we see the Berserker, the Warrior, and the Chemist. Alfin definitely going for that arm hook pull there. Unfortunately for Alfin, it does look like Elemento is going to be able to move one of their characters out of the way for the time being. However, if Elemento does move that character out of the way, we could definitely see an arm hook into the poison. There's always upsides to this strategy no matter what, so... Congrats to Alfin, you're going to do some damage no matter what, somehow. All right. Yeah. Sorry for, like, bursting your strategy live on stream, Alfin, but... All right, Elemento going for a... pulling the Chemist into the front row. Giving the Berserker some extra bonus damage there from the shoulder to shoulder bonus. Berserker is inspired up. So we are going to see, yet again, another huge damage combo from Elemento. Yeah, dealing damage, Revolutionary. Yeah, it's a very Madden thing to say. Yeah, they got to score more points. It's a good strategy. It's probably the worst John Madden impression that I could probably ever do. It's been a while. All right, we had a broken defense there on that. Oh my gosh, on that Berserker. However, that Berserker does have that Vigor Potion active, seeing a huge combo here, but it looks like Alfin might be on the negative receiving end of that combo. Alfin going, gosh, Elemento going full smork. Yeah, definitely. Right to the face the entire time. It looks like it's doing all right now, though. Yeah, used up that Vigor Potion on that reaction there, so... Alfin probably getting a little bit more than they bargained for. Some really cool chain reactions there, but ultimately maybe being a little bit negative for Alfin in this particular situation. Getting that Berserker down to very low levels of health, though, so that's always a good thing. Yeah, you did burn the Vigor and a bunch of damage, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for this Berserker to knock anyone out at this point. Yeah, it took your Vigor. Could do a trade blows on that Engineer, but aside from that, you're not going to get that Berserker. Oh, we have 0-1. Time's up. What happened here? We see the turn is not... Elemento stunned by the turn of events. So stunned by the turn of events that they forgot to choose a skill right there. Conserving that conserving that focus, though, dealing a bunch of damage, not going to be enough to knock... It's going to be... That trade blow is going to be enough to knock out that Berserker. Due to a ridiculous turn of events here, we are looking at a relatively close game again. Alfin having the the action economy advantage here, but both of Elemento's remaining characters at full health. Elemento in kind of a difficult situation here, due to the fact that That engineer is not going to be able to be targeted by most attacks here, except for the chemist fire flask. So, or flame flask rather. Excuse me. So unless Elemento can use that flame flask to knock out that engineer, Alfin's going to be looking at a 3-2 character advantage for a while. I mean, yeah, I guess you could technically time out your turn if you have no moves left. That could be an advantage at some point, but intended, not intended, I'm not sure. All right, Warrior doing some decent damage here. Warrior using that defensive capability, or excuse me, the remaining health to their advantage by soaking up the damage from that trap. Doesn't deal as much damage to that Warrior as it does the Chemist. We are going to see a delay turn from Alfin's Engineer. Ranger is up next. So it looks like we're going to see another trap combo. Elemento cannot get away from that combo right now. That Engineer is still having a little bit of health left. It does make a huge difference in this situation. All right, and that Chemist is down to 11 health right now, with Alfin's Berserker up next. Let's see what they do. I think I know what they could possibly do, but we'll see what they can do here. They're going to go after that Warrior, start doing some unrelenting strikes. Trying to pick apart that Warrior as much as they possibly can. Ranger up next, though. Thinking a little while about what they want to do with the Ranger. Could go for a quick shot on that Chemist. Not sure if that's going to be enough. It might, though. That's 7 damage, so it's not going to quite be enough in this situation. Off by 1 health. If the Chemist was coming up next, that could have been enough, but now they're up to 8 health, so Warrior is up right now. They have a few options for what they can do. Unfortunately, none of those options include taking out that Engineer. They could focus up. They could do some solid damage. They have a couple of options. Inspire isn't really useful right now due to the fact that the Chemist is already focused up. Gambling a little bit paid off. The RNG was definitely in Elemento's favor right there. Just dealing some solid 10 damage to that Ranger. Switching over to another area so that no one can get pulled into poison anymore. All right, we do see a Flame Flask, and instead of taking out that Engineer, it does take out the Berserker. So Elemento, ooh, excuse me, a little bit of the hitch up from the game client there. Elemento counting on the fact that they can probably heal up enough to survive another round before that poison ticks yet again. All right, we see a defense break from that Engineer, dealing a little bit of damage to the Warrior, kind of softening them up, perhaps for the Ranger, unless Alfin's Ranger has some other plans. They might be going after that Chemist. However, that Chemist is now up to 8 health, so that quick shot's going to have to do enough damage. Checks the damage, not quite enough there. 6 damage from that quick shot. The chemist being behind the warrior increases their defense by a considerable amount. Warrior has a couple of, the warrior has a couple of options here. They could focus up, they could inspire, they could deal a little bit of damage there to the ranger. A lot of options for Elemento here. It looks like that chemist is just going to get just enough health regen there to survive that next stack of poison. Hopefully. At least so it seems. Comes in, does some hits there. Unfortunately for Alfin, the warrior did block both of those attacks. And the resolution of the stances is in order so that that chemist does survive with 1 health in this situation, which could definitely make a difference here. Elemento applies Vigor Potion to that warrior. Easily being able to take out that warrior just with, or excuse me, that chemist with a little bit of a quick shot there. Back to an evasive stance. Elementor with just that warrior. Might be a little bit overkill to take out that engineer at this point, but it's a solid strategy, considering that that trap combo is ready to go. All right, we're going to focus up with that warrior as well. And guarding up. Alfin does have a barrage of turns here. We see the makings of a trap combo happening. And supporting up as well. Engineer pulls. Does some damage there. Nice little shot. Puts the warrior down to 3 health, which they are easily going to be able to deal with that last quick shot from the ranger. And it's over. Pretty close fight, though. If the warrior got 1 more turn, they would have easily been able to do a nice focus attack on that ranger and knock them out. Yeah, and if they switched to a sentinel stance, the engineer would not have been able to do melee damage. So yeah, that would have been very, very close. Exciting battle. It was off to a rocky start, but that definitely caused us to be in the situation that we were in. So, ended up causing a very exciting fight in the end there. So, Warwicks does come out in first place and wins this tournament. Alfin takes second, and Elemento takes third. Yeah, that was a really fun tournament. Saw some fun stuff happening in there. Some interesting strategies, working around and working with a lot of times the battlefield layouts with the new terrain features. So yeah, if anybody has any ideas for terrain or has some comments on the current terrain that's been implemented, let us know. And we're gonna probably be trickling in some terrain stuff, you know, on some of the patches. Not every patch, but on some of the patches. Now that we have this system in the game, it's a lot easier to add new terrain. So that could be a fun way to shake things up. So yeah, if anyone has any ideas for that, or any ideas for features in the game at all, like seriously, we're pretty much open ears, so just let us know. Yeah, everybody really well played today. that was it's definitely interesting seeing the first tournament after a new feature, especially one as game changing as this. Yeah, we got to see a lot, just like a personal observation, got to see a lot of people moving around a lot more on the battlefield, which is really cool. It's always cool to see strategies that require you to move around your formation all the time. So definitely really cool stuff. More chemist, less ranger. Yeah, definitely. Still saw a decent amount of ranger, but was really cool to see more of the chemist. Definitely. I believe we did a buff to the chemist. Was it last patch or the patch before? It wasn't this patch. But it takes a little while for after characters get buffed or they get a little bit of a kit change for people to fully implement those in their competitive strategies. So what we're probably seeing is more people realizing that the buffs to the chemists are actually pretty good. Especially, yeah, Alfin saying chemist very good when stalling with half barrier. Yeah, it's definitely an effective strategy. So especially since a lot of the chemist utility comes from that stance, so they're able to do other things during their turn as well. So whether that's vigor potioning up, as we saw with the berserker, or if that is healing people as well, that's really good. Even just being able to lob flame flask from behind half cover is pretty good too. So yeah, saw some really cool stuff happening. So but yeah, we're gonna I'm just gonna chill for a little while, for a few minutes. Gonna relax for a little bit after this really exciting tournament. So a few less people than a lot of people had stuff happening this weekend, which is totally understandable. That definitely happens. But yeah, I'm excited to see larger tournaments with the terrain features implemented. It's going to be really cool seeing that. But even with the, with only a couple people showing up today, it was awesome to watch just like this really cool feature get utilized. Yeah, we saw a recovery patch quite a few times, which wasn't expecting that, but definitely ended up being pretty effective in some specific situations. So that was really cool to see. All right. Yeah, Shio's heal got used a few times as well. That 10 heal is actually pretty effective, so we might want to look at that. It's a lot in certain situations. No promises on nerfs to Shio, but 10 immediate is pretty effective. But we'll see. Next patch is basically probably going to be a balanced patch. So we'll take a look at some characters and see how that's going. Yep, so next patch is probably going to be a balanced patch, and then the one after that will be some new content. So we'll see what that's going to be. I mean, it takes a while. I mean, Warwicks has shown up to like just about every single tournament, I believe. So I wouldn't say it's surprising that Warwicks did really well today. But it takes a while. I think what we're gonna do relatively soon is we are going to try to give people options so they can lab a little bit better. So what form that shows up, we don't know yet, like what form that's actually gonna like happen. So, but we want to give people the opportunity to practice in a way that is a little bit more controlled. So no promises. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but you know, we like to remove barriers to like performance and stuff like that. So if people can lab a little bit easier, if they can practice, if they can try out new strategies and in a like controlled, focused way, that would be really cool. So I mean, we have a few ideas regarding being able to like choose layouts or choose different things in particular. That helps, but that helps to get you in a situation where you can practice a little bit more effectively. Also, something that also helps people practice is playing against other people instead of AI. So if you've got a friend that you think might want to play, all that kind of stuff, that would be cool. You can always mess around with that and play against real people is like super helpful. Like when we're testing, like we can like when we're testing like new characters or balances or anything like that. It's one thing to test out stuff with you doing like a hot seat match and playing against yourself, but it's an entirely different thing playing against other people. Adventure mode with set layouts and story blurbs before each CPU battle. I have no idea what you're talking about. We definitely don't have that in the works. Yeah. Yep. That's definitely not something that we've been working on for a little while. But yeah, that would be cool, right? Right. I'm sure if you dig back in some of our marketing stuff, you might see some things about that kind of stuff. You might see that. And we will say that has not been abandoned in the slightest. So. But with everything good, it takes time. So. Everything takes time. All right. It is about 4:30 Eastern, so I think I'm gonna sign off in a couple of minutes. But otherwise, it was great having everybody here. That was a fun tournament. As I've said like 1,000 times, but on truly, that was really cool to see this new feature in there. Yeah, next time bring people. I know stuff happens, and unfortunately, some people can't make it, but we might look into, because I know at least one person missed it today by like an hour probably. It would have been really cool to have them in this fight to bring it up to 4 people. But next time that would be really cool to have a bunch of people. So invite your friends. All right. Well, until next time, be sure to join our Discord and follow us on Twitter. Jason just dropped the links in the chat. Yeah, thank you all for coming. Again, if you just want to chat about the game or have any comments or suggestions or anything like that, yeah, feel free to drop it in chat and we'll talk about stuff. All right. Well, see you guys later. Until next time.